Welcome to the Dove's Inner Beauty Podcast, where we foster emotional awareness one individual at a time. Leading the way is Demetria Nickens, a certified mental health first aid instructor and trauma recovery coach with over 2 decades of experience in fostering emotional awareness in others by engaging their mental health.
Trauma leaves scars that can significantly affect how we relate to others. But how does unresolved trauma impact our ability to trust, form connection, and experience healthy relationships? Let's dive into the psychological effects of trauma and how healing can restore those connections. Welcome back, everyone. This is Garfield Bone, co-host / producer, back in the studio with Demetria Nickens. Demetria, how's it going today?
So far, so good.
Excellent. So how does unresolved trauma impact our ability to trust and connect with others?
Woo! Such a heavy question. But when you think about trauma, this idea of there was a loss of control in your life and it has stayed with you, right? So when you're traumatized, it could be a number of things that have traumatized you. You never know, right? I can't tell you what traumatized you versus you can't tell me what traumatized me. We're going to be very different based on the situation in our lives and our circumstance. So let's take a hurricane, for example. A hurricane came and blew out your house, right? And you have been traumatized because of that, because your possessions were there. You had family history there. There were things there that mattered to you. It impacted you. And so that hurricane coming in and taking out your house was traumatic for you, right? And so whenever you think about a thing that you lost, you're crying, it's just not healthy because it just continues for months and months and months where you're still considering this hurricane. Maybe even when it rains, you're worried that you're going to lose something else. It's a very valid experience for somebody, right? When they dealt with that. So this loss of control, I can't do anything about the weather. This loss of control impacts how you move through the world, right? So maybe someone came to you and said to you, oh, don't worry about all that stuff. It's materialistic, right? Oh, you're fine. You'll be fine. You'll go back to everything you need to do. Well, while that's nice in theory to say, the reality is that situation has genuinely impacted. So now I want to tell you my story about this hurricane because you're just going to minimize it into materialistic things when it meant more to me than that. So now I got an issue with you too, right? It's not just that my house is gone. I got an issue with you and telling people my story, right? So how many people have possibly done that or said the similar things in my life over and over again? But that just reminds me of how much I'm missing and not what I'm dealing with, not the present moment. Part of the problem is that this unresolved trauma and the things that people say after the trauma, they impact our trust and how we decide to continue to trust people after the situation. And it's not that people mean to be ugly or that they just don't know what to really say. So they're trying to say the nicest thing they think they can say to help you. But that doesn't mean what they're saying is helping. It could be very hindering, right? And so in that instance, you could start to lose trust with people, right? Based on, oh man, they responded in a way that I wasn't feeling. So I cut them off and I don't talk to them anymore. So then instead of connecting with folks, we isolate more, right? We have come to this point of like, nope, my house is gone. My friends aren't doing what I needed them to do. Their family's not helping. Everybody's just saying the same thing. And you know what? I'm blocking myself. I'm just going to isolate from other people. I'm not going to. Okay, so what happens when we isolate from other people, right? Like you start to find ways to cope. But most people don't think about healthy ways to cope. They think about unhealthy ways to cope. So now you're isolated and you're thinking about unhealthy ways of coping in your situation and your trauma that happened. What does that lead to? That continues to lead down more negative paths. It doesn't lead to more connection with other people. And so at the end of the day, one thing just creates this cycle of negativity in your life instead of helping you. And I'm not saying that is everybody's story. That's just one example about something that you can't control, a hurricane. That's not even talking about like someone violated you in your trauma and now you don't trust people. So there are people who've been sexually abused and now they don't trust men. Relationships are difficult because now I can't trust you, right? Because this person violated me back here. So now I'm trying to be in a relationship with you and I can't trust you, but I want a relationship with you. And I'm having trouble building this relationship because I can't trust men and I'm conflicted, right? So all these conflicts happen out of trauma. The way you react happens out of this trauma. It's interesting. I was just talking to a student earlier today, and part of the concern was this idea that he broke up with his girlfriend. But where did it come from? This idea, these issues with his girlfriend and how it was hard for him to let go. It's hard for me to let go of this girl. I really care about her. But what did it come down to? It came down to this, that there was issues with his mom when he was a kid, right? And not wanting to let go of his mom, even though there was issues there with his mother, substance use and issues and things like that there with his mom. And so he's been reacting to women in this whole same idea of having to lose his mother from a long time ago. So these cycles happen to us where we get caught in these cycles of behavior based on our reactions to a trauma that happened years ago. And sometimes it's not years ago, it depends on the situation, but often we're not seeing how this thing is stopping us from moving forward, right? It's stopping us from creating positive relationships. It's stopping us from creating trust because all we think about is this trauma, right? Our mind is so focused here in the trauma that we can't see past it when a situation happens that's similar to the trauma, right? It could be a smell, it could be a piece of clothing, it could be anything that triggers, right? The word trigger, right? We use it all the time. But this idea that triggers your memory, your brain, and then your brain is going to, nope, it's similar to that. So we're going to go back to it. That's it. We don't trust you no more, right? Nope, we don't trust you. And it could have been something super simple, but now it's the lack of trust that's there is gone. The connection is gone. And so we have to go back and deal with whatever this issue was in our life, this trauma that happened in our life, so we can move currently in ways that are serving us, so that we are not trying to push people away, that we're actually connecting with folks and that we're connecting in a way that allows us to be vulnerable, or connecting in a way that allows us to help ourselves, that we're connecting in a way that allows us to feel and heal, right? Yeah. There's a lot to say there.
I don't know if this word exists, but I guess you have to untrigger the brain.
You know what? No, right. So it's not necessarily untrigger. They call it like a retrain. They call it
Untrain.
retraining your brain. Right, right. No, really, that is a real thing. It's a real therapy technique. It's this idea of retraining your brain, because right now your brain is only thinking in trauma. So it's about retraining your brain to not, right? How can you notice that this is what's happening and say, okay, stop yourself. All right, I'm feel this. Okay, what am I going to do next, right? And being able to not respond in the trauma response. That's what it's called. You're responding in a trauma response and not in your genuine, authentic person of who you are, right? You cannot get to authenticity when all you think about and everything you do is based in the trauma. So yeah, no, that's a real thing. It's this idea of retraining your brain. You're right.
So connections are good. Isolation is bad, and we need to get the right coach to figure it out.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Listen, good stuff. You have a wonderful rest of the day. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dove's Inner Beauty podcast, where we foster emotional awareness one individual at a time. For a complimentary consultation, visit dovesinnerbeauty.com or call 336-298-6599. That's 336-298-6599.